Okay, today is Friday. It is November 21st. It's 2025. There's a couple things that I need to fix. Okay, there's a couple things. One of them is employment of stop loss. Okay, that's the big one. That is really the big one. Okay. The second one that I need to so the stop loss is the big one. The other big one is, what is the other big one? The other big one is, what is the other big one? What is the other big one? Um, what is the other big one? What is the other big one that I need to understand? Okay. Um, so my trading right now, there's a couple things. One of them is a stop loss. Okay. My trading right now, um, now the setups, now the setups is now the setups that I'm using. Uh, so if I'm always cautious, I'm cautious in my trading. If I'm cautious in my trading, if I am cautious in my trading, I can take deliberate methods to become profitable. Okay, I can do that. Now, what I've noticed about what I noticed about now what I noticed about what I noticed about the trading that I'm doing right now is there's a couple of things that I need to improve on. There's a couple of things that I need to improve on. Okay, I need to improve on a couple of things. A couple of things. I have to improve on a couple of things. Now that I'm working less, I'm getting fat. Okay, I'm getting fat. I need to exercise. So I have a couple things that I'm improving on. A couple things. I have to improve on a couple things. One of them is a stop loss. Okay, let's talk about the stop loss. Okay, let's talk about stop loss. The other one, so if I look at my trading game, okay, if I look at my trading game, I am able to. So I'm now currently I'm currently uh, essentially sizing in to a winner is not easy, but it is possible, and it can be done. But as soon as it reverses, it'll just take things away from you. And what I've noticed is that yesterday's trading, yesterday's trading was a prime example of what happened. So I was trading gold and EU, and I was sized in to EU, and when it moves with a ferocity, and so does gold. And so when I sized into gold, uh, I essentially did a top tick. And what I did not know is that when I sized in so big that when it moved against me, it was essentially it was taking like a percent off from my account. So that aggravated it. And so there's always a need to be conscious of uh, there's always a need to be conscious of the trading that I'm doing. Okay, I have to be conscious. I have to be conscious of. I have to be conscious at all times the size that I'm trading. Okay, and then keep it up. Okay, and don't make mistakes. I can make mistakes, but I need to immediately exit from that mistake. Okay, when I do that, one mistake that I'm making is essentially taking. Um, so essentially what I do is essentially what I do. Okay, the stop. I have to talk about the stop loss. I have to talk about the stop loss. If I don't talk about the stop loss, it's going to be I have to talk about the stop loss. I have to resolve it. That's the essentially if I don't so so there's multiple things that I need to work on, okay? There's multiple things. In order for me to be really today is a prime day. Okay? Today's a prime day. I feel like now when I used to look at Al Brooks videos, I used to not be able to understand anything that he was talking about. Okay, I used to not be able to understand the concept that he's teaching. But as time progressed, I began to I began to first I began to first understand his definition of the market. Once I once I grabbed onto the understanding of the market from his perspective, I began to put meaning behind what he's teaching, right? So the thing that he talks about is he talks about a gap, and so the perception of gap is different from his perspective versus the other perspective, and I now know his unique perspective on gaps. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, what has been plaguing me for quite a while that I want to really get into, and he talks about that too on his program, on his training course. Now, stop loss is really it's an art form that I need to really spend some time talking about it. I want so okay so how does the behavior change? Okay, how does so this might be like a 3 hour long video. Okay, this will most likely be a 3 hour long video. It's gonna be about a 30 gig, I think. It's gonna be it's gonna be it's gonna be a 30 gig because I wanna make sure I resolve this. I wanna make sure I resolve this. Okay, so I'm plugged in to the power because it might take a very long time to really vet this thing out. Okay, so uh, it's so so when I was growing up, my mother would say, well, my mother would say, do this, okay? Do this. It's good for you, okay? She says it's good for you, okay? Do this. It's good for you, okay? She says, okay, study, okay? Study hard, okay? That's what she said. I never studied hard, okay? I studied hard on television, and so I didn't study, okay? And look where I am, okay? My kids met a very good mom, and she uh, and I didn't interfere. Okay, I did not interfere. She knew. She knew. So she kicked me out, and she just took charge of raising our kids, and she did a fine job. Okay, she did a fine job because I would have just interfered and mixed them up. I would have because I would have set a very bad example. Okay, I'm a living and walking bad example. But I exist accepting who I am, okay? And my personality, I now that I think about it, it was best for our kids. And so they're gonna and so that's the situation, okay? So now now in trading, there is this thing called uh you have to set your stop loss. And it's because I haven't really become conscious of that statement that is causing me to really not practice it. Even though things are telling me, like just today, I discovered something called just today, which is like 5 years into my trading. It's something called uh, it's something called um, resistance. Okay, I say it's resistance. It's resistance. Yeah, of course, it's resistance. But the true meaning and the intent, I didn't realize what it meant until today, right? So now I'm seeing. Now I'm seeing. So here's the situation. Okay, so let me just briefly describe what resistance meant for my life. So the meaning behind life. So what I'm attempting to do right now is to address the uh, behavioral change. Okay, I have to study the behavioral change. What's required to get a behavioral change? Okay, so if I figure that out, if I know how to change my behavior, Okay, if I can permanently perform a behavioral change, then anything that I want to learn will become a conscious and a subconscious part of my life, right? So it is because that I don't know how to fully describe it and then explain it and then understand it and to become conscious of it in order to deviate from or change from where that is. Okay, I cannot move away from something that I cannot describe, right? Right? If I don't know, uh, if I don't know what it is that I'm trying to move away from, then I will never be able to move away from it because it'll always be part of me because I don't know how to remove it, right? That's 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 the process of learning, okay? The learning is first becoming conscious of it, okay? Becoming conscious of it so that I know, okay? So when I was growing up, it's like people are saying, okay, you're a dreamer. You're always dreaming. Of course, I'm dreaming. Everybody's a dreamer. You don't become fully conscious of something at the beginning. You cannot be fully conscious. You cannot be aware of something in the beginning. It's incredible unless you're a really incredible genius, somebody who's 6 months old and knows the vocabulary, thesaurus, and everything else, right? That's a genius. But for vast majority of the people, uh, that kind of thing does not exist. The first words are goo goo gaga, right? That's it, right? So now I wanna figure this out because it's hurting. I'm it's hurting my business. Okay, it's hurting my business. So it all leads back to the Regis and also the restaurant. Okay, Regis wants to make sure that it is a very, very clean place. And they set rules and everybody follows it. And I'm following it as well. Okay, I'm following it. I am. I am following it. So does the restaurant. The restaurants have a rule. Okay? So there's this thing called like run your trading like a business. People say that. People say that run your trading like it's a business. Run your business like it's trading. I mean, run your trading like it's a business. Okay, people say that I didn't understand what that meant. So what happens with business is lots of businesses start, but they cannot survive the first 2 years. Most of it, vast majority of businesses cannot survive more than 2 years because they'll go out of they'll go out of business. Why do businesses go out of business? Okay, so I have to run it like a business. Okay, so this is very, very important. This is very, very. I'm like talking about this is allowing me to see what business I am in. Okay, so there's two categories. So if I run a business, okay, running a business, holy Jesus Christ, my God, it's a good thing there's Fridays, there's weekends, there's a reason for weekends. It's to stop working and then think about what went on during the day. That's what weekends are for, okay? So what is a business? What is a business? A business has a product. A business has a increasing business and decreasing business. There are three things, okay? There are three things to a business. There are three things, okay? Let me point this out. I am a businessman, but in order for me to remain a businessman, I have to know these three things, okay? These three things must be known, okay? These three things must be known, okay? So the first, so I was working at this semiconductor company called Microchip, and a few people mentioned that, well, you have a website, but you have to sell something, right? You have to sell something, okay? In order to be in business, you have to sell something, right? That's what it is. You have to sell something. You have to generate revenue, right? You have to generate revenue, right? So I didn't understand. Like I said, as God is my witness, when I say that I'm dumb, I really am dumb. I'm truly dumb. I am. Because most people, they understand when people say that, but it takes me a long time to figure this out. It's like it's very, very thick. It's it's the core of my brain is very thick from the external information. It takes a long time to get there. So I am dumb. That's why I'm unemployed and all that stuff, right? That's why people mistake me because I think different than they do, right? And so it seems so obvious to them, but it's not obvious to me. That's why people misunderstand me. Okay, they're smart. I'm dumb, and so they don't know how to think like a dumb person. You get it? They're smart, so they expect certain things. But because I'm dumb, I don't know what to give them of what they expect because I'm dumb. See? So maybe they're not that smart, okay? They're smart, but they just can't see it. Anyway, so business has three things. I want to discuss these three things. I have to understand this because it falls back into what the core, the foundation, the core of trading really is, right? It is it is the identification, and then it is risk management, and yeah, risk management, right? Right, risk management, identification, risk management, and profit taking, right? Those are the three things that a day trader does. The identification is knowing all the tools that are there in order to identify a certain situation that has a statistical probability that it's going to generate a certain consistent behavior. And then risk management will align with that risk tolerance of that specific trade idea. Okay, and then there's the profit kind of a thing, which goes hand in hand with risk management, right? So there's the technical aspects of identification of the setup, the risk management, and risk manage goes hand in hand with the profit, right? Profit as well, because managing growth, okay, managing growth is part of a risk taking kind of thing because risk involves all these things: how much money that I can get, how much loss I can generate, and all that stuff, right? So the risk management is a bigger picture, is a superset of the idea of profit taking. So that's the part of trading. I'm in the business of trading, and I want to succeed. Okay, God, I'm gonna say this to God. I wanna, I wanna make sure that I clearly substantiate my intention as a day trader. I want to succeed as a day trader. And I want to tell God this: I want to succeed as a day trader. Okay? And as part of that, many people say it's similar to a business. So I'm going to now expound upon why trading is a business. Okay? And how I can relate that so that I can become conscious of what this is. Trading is a business. It is a business. Trading is definitely a business, right? Trading is a business because I'm using my time, my resources, okay, to generate revenue. That's trading. That's business. Business takes a product, sells to generate revenue. That's business. Okay? A thriving business has an increasing business plan that allows to generate more revenue. That's business. So what is the definition of business? A business is a entity that sells to generate, that sells utilizing the sells a product utilizing the self to generate the revenue, right? I'm just creating my own. I didn't study business at all. I haven't, but I'm attempting to. I don't want to read a thick book or either. I don't want to become an economist. I don't want to be I don't want to do that. I want to be a businessman. If I want to be extremely accurate in things like that, and I need to become an economist to become far more aware, I suppose I could go to college and become a financier and things like that, and that could be something that I can do, right? But um, I'm gonna think this way, and I'm going to bring forth a profitable business. Okay, profitable business, and I'm going to get to the point where I discuss about these three things of a trading business. The three things that are very, very important. Okay, one of them, the trading business is has three things, right? Three things: the trade idea, risk management, okay, risk management, and so risk management. Um, so there's a slight difference. There's a slight difference in what business is and what trading is. So let's focus on business first, so I can concretely specify the things that identifies a business, and I want to discuss these things. Okay, so there is a product, and there is a increasing business, and there are things that decreases business. There are three things. Okay, there is a product, there's an increasing business idea, and then there's a decreasing business idea. There are three things. Okay, there are three things that are inherent in business. Okay, three things. Okay, three things. One, there's a product. There's a increasing business, and then there's decreasing business. There are three things. I need to be aware of those three things. I want to make sure the product that I have is the best, the best, and it'll keep being the best. But there are people who are salesmen who says, well, the product doesn't have to be the best. It's just whoever knows it the most. If people knows about it, then it is the best. Okay. Even if the product is like half the superiority of the other, if the cost is the same, it is best because it's known. That's why it makes it the best. Okay? So there's three things about a business that makes it successful. Okay? One thing is a product. You have to have a product, whatever that product is. Then you have to have a increasing business idea. Okay? That's number 2. And then there's 3, which is a decreasing business idea. Those are the 3 things. The idea number 2 and idea number 3 are very, very similar. Okay? Because you do less of what decreases the business by doing what makes the business prosper, right? Right? That's what it is. So, okay, so I've identified what business do. Businesses do that. Okay, businesses have these 3 things. Okay, businesses have these 3 things. Now I got to repeat this because I'm not bright. Okay, I'm telling you when I say I'm not bright. When I first came to America, uh, those around me, because I hit my head on a bridge too hard when I was like 6 years old. We were playing hide and seek, and it was in the middle of the winter, and I was in the canal, and it's froze, and so I was trying to hide, and I was like the concrete, uh, the bridge was low, and so even for a 6 year old, I ran in there as fast as I could, and then the top of my head just ran into the edge of the cement, and I was knocked out for a day. Okay, I was knocked out. I think it had brain damage or something. Ever since then, I'm not. Ever since then, I was going, huh? So I had to repeat third grade. Okay, I finished third grade in a foreign country, and then when I immigrated to here, I had to repeat the third grade. So I was 1 year older than everybody else. Okay, but I was still going, huh, huh, huh. Still ringing going on in my head. Anyway, so there are 3 things. There are 3 things that needs to be adhered to in business. And that's why President Trump, that guy's a genius. Okay, he knows. I mean, he became a billionaire because he's into building things, and he knows these things. He has a product, which is business, real estate, and then he knows how to increase business. He knows what causes the business to decline. He knows these things. Okay, so now, so there are 3 things that specifically identifies what a business is. What is a business? A business has a product. Okay? It makes sense to me. Okay? There's only God with me. God is with me. God is the God is the only one who's with me right now. Nobody else is here. Nobody else is talking to me. Not even a book, not even Warren Buffett is here, but God is with me. And I'm talking about it and I'm bouncing ideas off of God. And I'm telling God, God, there are three things in business. One, there has to be a product, right? I'm just logically using common sense to come to a conclusion about what business is. Okay? I have to specifically identify what a business is because people say trading is a business. So I need to identify them so that I can work on it because it's the scope of trading is so wide right now, right? It's very, very wide. Somebody who's like myself who's learning. So there's three things. There are three things. Okay, I'm gonna get some water, warm it up because it's gonna take some time. I'm gonna get some coffee. I'm gonna get some water here. I'm gonna pause this for a bit. Okay, right back. Okay, I'm back. All right. So, where was I? Okay. So, trading is a business, and people say, well, you have to treat it like a business, okay? People say that. People say that you have to treat business like, trading like a business, okay? So, it reminds me, I work at a restaurant where management, the owners are actively engaged in making the restaurant profitable, successful, so that it can survive and remain and become consistent and be a successful restaurant. Okay, right? That's what they're doing. So one of the things that they talked about is this. Apparently, the restaurant that I work at, I mean, the bulk of the sales are cheeseburgers. The bulk of sales are cheeseburgers. Most people buy cheeseburgers there. Okay, that is the mainstay, the primary sales item is cheeseburgers, and others are complementary things that support the idea of this the 50s type of restaurant, right? So the restaurant focuses more attention to making that burger and making it readily available for the customers. That's the primary objective. Okay. So in trading, then in business, then there are three things. Okay. So I want to keep talking about this so that I become aware of it. I want to become aware of what I'm doing right now. Okay. The first part is just thinking about it. The first part is I have to have a product, the cheeseburger. Then I have to have a idea to increase the business. Okay. And then I have to know what decreases business. Okay, I have to know these things. All right. So I have to know these three things. Okay, what increases business and what decreases business. Okay. What increases business and what decreases business. Okay, I have to know this. What increases business and what decreases business. I have to know this thing. Okay, I have to know it. I have to know it in order, and then so that I can do something about it. Okay, so I've been thinking about this. I just took a break a couple minutes ago, and then I was thinking about this. Okay, so I was thinking about this. So that means that I could jot down things that are hurting my business. Okay, this is fascinating. This is good stuff. This is good. This is what the weekends are for. This is what the weekends are for. Okay, this should be the title. Okay, I'm gonna write it down. This needs to be the title of the video. Okay, this is what weekends are for. Okay, this is what the weekends are made of. Okay, this is the reason why there's weekends. This is the reason why there's weekends. Okay, I need to write this down. Okay, I need to write this down. Okay, this is the reason why. This is the reason why. This is the reason why. This is the reason why there's weekends. Okay. This is the reason why there's weekends, okay? The weekends are for this specific purpose. Okay? Weekends are for this purpose. Okay? This is what weekends are for. Or I could call it this is what weekends are for. Excuse me. Okay? All right. So this is really interesting stuff, okay? So a business has these three things. Business has these three things. Okay, these three things. A product, what increases the business, what decreases the business. Okay, I need to know these three things and I will be successful. Because all I have to do is if I have an owner, all I have to do is hire 3 of the best people in this whole world. All I have to do is hire these 3 best people in this whole world. 3 people. 1, the best product person. 2, the best business increasing person. The best business decreasing person. Okay? The person who is an expert at knowing what causes business to decrease. A person who knows what causes the business to increase. A person who knows the best about the product. Okay? So these 3 things will cause the restaurant, trading, or any type of business to increase. Okay? These 3 things. These like Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit. Okay? Let me make it as transparent as possible. Okay? Let me make it as transparent. Is this my hand? Is this my arm? Okay? Or am I looking at one of those really scary movies? These don't look like my hands, do they? They look like somebody else's hands. Right? Anyway, okay, so these look like somebody else's hands. Look at that. It's weird. Look at that. Whoa. Whoa, that's weird. It looks like somebody else's hand. Okay, anyway. So there's 3 things. Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit, okay? Jesus, God, and Holy Spirit. The product, okay? The product, Jesus. What increases business, God. And what decreases business, the Holy Spirit. These are the 3 things. Materialist, this is the material where the rubber meets the road. Jesus Christ came onto earth, made himself visible to us. Okay? Let me see if I can make it gain traction, to make it the reality of this situation. Business is just like Jesus Christ, God. Okay? So really, you have a product, you have something that increases business, you have something that decreases business, and you need to do less of business. You know those people that people like come in with like, well, I came in one day and I ordered what is it called? It's what is that called? It's a little sandwich that has little what is it called? They have it at the restaurant. I forget what it's called, but it's a really good. It's like 2 pieces. It's 3 pieces of bread. You have butter on one side. You have cheese. You have ham, and then you have butter, and then you have bread, and you have butter, and you have Swiss. You have then you have chicken, and then you have butter, and then you have bread, and then it's dipped in egg, and then it's battered, and then it's fried. Okay, it's really good. So a customer complained because her friend drove to the restaurant and asked for 2 of this delicious recipe. Okay, I forget what it's called. It's at the tip of my tongue, but I can't. I forget what it's called. Anyway, so So this friend went through the drive-through and then went and attempted to share this too delicious treat. But when they opened the bag, there was only one. Okay, there was only one, and so this young lady was so looking forward to it because it is her favorite food, and she found out there was only one. Okay, but now she had to drive back and get the other one, which made it ruin the whole day, right? And so that's a complaint. You don't want to do too many of those. That's the third part. Okay, what not to do? What hurts the business? That's it. When the order comes in, you want to make sure it's correct and you give it to the customer and say, "Hey, have a nice day," right? That's it. Have a nice day comes into this category here, right? You want to say that, right? You don't want to make mistakes, okay? You want to reduce the amount of mistakes so that it costs less because you have to refund the person, right? For the mistake, right? So it works. It becomes so far I've made a connection with the spiritual world and the business of business and then the business of trading. Okay, so I'm making these connections in order for me to gain traction in my trading because I want to make sure that I understand the business that I'm in. Okay, because I want to be the best of the business that I'm in. Okay, I want to be in the business for a long time and become very profitable. That means I have to be very good at it. In order for me to be good at it, then I have to spend the weekends understanding what I've done so that I can make improvements and what not to do. Okay. So the tool that I'm using on Funding Pips, I think it's called a match trader or something. And so I have the ability to, when the price gets to this point, I can do buy or sell. I can set it up like that. But the way that the software is set up, even if I click on that page, I have to do one more step before I can click on it. Otherwise, it'll immediately buy. That's not what I want to do at that moment because I need the price to be at a certain point for that trade to be more effective. If I buy it now, it could meander for a while. That's not what I want it to do. I want the price to get to there because then I know that the market is doing what I expect it to do. But if it's currently at that price, it could do any other things. That's not where I want to enter. So when I click on it, I make that mistake a lot of the times. Okay, and that can be costly. So that's something that I need to minimize in my trading. Okay, so that's what so the original intent of this video was to really resolve this issue about this stop loss. I want to really fully appreciate it. I want to make sure I'm conscious of what this thing is so that I can employ it. So it's part of that what not to do. Okay, what not to do, like letting the losing trade just keep going, which I've done. Okay, I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that it is possible for me to enter into the trade so that so that I need to exit the trade. I have to exit the trade. If I don't exit the trade, it's gonna just totally ruin my trading, right? So how do I fix this issue? I fix the issue by elaborating on what was successful and what was not successful, and then I can enhance what was successful and then increase it while decreasing what hasn't worked. And some of those two things might be connected together. I need to figure out how I can separate it so that I can extinguish one, increase the other, right? So the product of the business is incremental progression. I've already identified that. The product in my business right now is, so I've already established a clear identification. I've already identified the clear thing that I need to do in order for me to be profitable. Okay, and I'm relating that to something called a business. It's a business. So the business has a product, and it needs to do things that are increasing the business, and it needs to do less of what decreases business. That's the three things that I need to do. Okay, those are the three things. Okay, those are the three things that makes a business a success. Okay, so now I need to relate that to the business of trading. So the trading, the product is essentially, what is the product? So if I were to identify what trading is, what is the product? What is the product that I'm selling? What is the product that I'm selling knowledge. Okay? I'm selling knowledge. I'm selling knowledge. Experience is also a knowledge, right? Experience is part of the knowledge. So as a trader, the product is knowledge. I am the product. I am the product. The physical me, okay? The physical me, the spirit, the physical, the body, and the mind makes those three things. I am the product. In trading, I am the product because I'm using me to make money. I'm using me to make the money. Other things are just vehicles for me, the tools for me to use in order to sell my business, which is me, my knowledge, the me. Okay, I am the business. I am the business. Okay, God was on the mountain. Okay, and he formed on the burning bush, and he said, "I am what I am." Okay, I also am a trader. I am in the business of trading. I am a businessman. I, as a businessman in the business of trading, I am the man who does conduct his business as a trader, and I sell my skill. Okay, if I'm really good, the price that I demand is very, very high. Okay, that's the point that I'm trying to get to. Okay. So that's where I am. Okay, so now I've identified the product that I'm selling. Okay, so let's. I don't want to go all the way back. I just want to discuss what I did this week. Okay, so this week I did a couple things. Okay, I I I reduced the need to start scaling in. I'm attempting to avoid like scaling in as the price decreases, because there's a little spidey sense that says, okay, there's a little spidey sense that says, okay, so if I increase while it's going down, it's going to get worse. I've seen that before. I've done these two things, the good and the bad. Okay, the good and the bad. Okay, there's a Clint Eastwood movie called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Right, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, right. So I did the good there, because there's a little spidey sense now. It's saying, okay, so if I enter into the trade while it's going down, is this going to make it worse? It's probably at a time where I should be exiting trade. Okay, instead of like when it's moving up, I'm thinking to myself, oh, I'm gonna take some profit. Okay, I'm gonna take some profit instead of thinking about how I can add. Okay, instead of thinking about how I can add, I'm thinking to myself, if I do that. So just like today, I was like, just like today, I was making money on I was increasing my account, and then this one loss after another started to occur, because at a certain point the price has reached a certain point where it was about to like drop, and so when I had some serious size on it, and I just let it fester. I could have cut that loss, and it should have ended it earlier. Okay, so that's something that I need to be aware of, and I need to address. So I've identified the product that I'm selling. It's me. Okay, I am the product. I am the product because I have the skill set and I have the knowledge. Those are the two things. And then the third thing is my physical presence. Uh, I've slept well. I'm mentally capable of trading. I'm physically nourished enough to support a trading, right? And I have the accompanying thing that allows me to conduct the business of trading on a daily basis. Okay, and when I'm tired, I'm conscious of whether I'm able to trade or not. Okay, so that is something that comes in and out, because sometimes when I'm too tired, I can't identify that, and I make a mistake, right? So I've identified the product, which is me. Now the second part is, now what have I been doing? Let's first of all think about what I've done well. So what I've noticed is that when I engage and I see the entry point and the possibility of that entry point leading up to where the maximum profit area price level is, and then when I size in, I noticed that was a good way. I noticed that I was effective. I was effective in gaining that edge, that employing my edge. So what I did was I identified the area where my entry was. Okay, I've identified at any price level. Okay, it's not an area where there is a like like an area where I enter knowing fully knowing that it is the right area to enter. It's because I entered in an area where it's dynamic. It's something is dynamic, right? It's dynamic. It's dynamic, and I'm able to use that dynamic situation to identify the place where I can enter. Okay, that's the setup. Okay, I've identified a crystal clear idea of the supporting idea of entering into an area where there is definitely a an area where entry is. And now today after Friday identifying what support and resistance is, I found a counterpart to that, right? Complementary part of the setups that I've been using. But when it gets to a certain point where it's on a flip side, then my mind needs to flip as well to understand what I need to do. Okay. So when I see that, then I understand. Okay, I understand the then I understand what I need to do. I need to understand what I need to do, right? So I identified the support and resistance. Now I can look at both sides. I wasn't just on one side that's heavy. So the good thing that I've done was identification of the setup when I saw it, and sometimes I misidentify it, and that causes problems. Okay, which I've seen as well. Okay, so I've identified the setup that I'm using, and it was effective. Okay, it was effective, and it happens quite often, and so I can take advantage of that. The magnitude of its full expansion into its idea changes based on the particular scenario and where the price is, but I took advantage of that, and I took better advantage of it by getting into it. I'm moving into it, moving into that good idea, and then enhancing that good idea. Okay, so that was something that was benefit, and I want to keep trying this this coming week. Okay, I want to see how so with some substantial size behind it, it seems to be a very effective in the way that I'm conducting the business of enhancing the trade idea and then maximize making a bigger and bigger idea into it. And so when I get sufficiently comfortable with it, by keep practicing it, using it over and over and over, I become intimately familiar with that particular setup. So then that allows me to change things, to enhance it. Familiarity of that particular setup with experience allows me to connect these two things, connect certain ideas together to enhance it even more, right? And then that will cause me to be in a package that allows me to package it up into something else too that makes it even better, right? So that's the idea. Now this is the part that I need to start working on as well. Okay, so that's increasing the business. Hopefully I've covered that. I've covered the benefit, the good side of increasing the business, right? The good side of business, increasing the business is utilizing that setup that that I'm using, and then scaling in as the trade idea expands in the direction that I've identified. Okay, that I have taken. Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, so let's see if I can. I wonder if I can enhance that idea. Okay, so let's okay. So there's three parts that I want to discuss, which is the product itself, right? That's the business and what the identification of the business is. The second part is looking at enhancing the business, and then the other side is this decreasing business. What's causing it to decrease? So I need to fix that as well, right? So what I want to do is just make it a little bit more positive, so that I'll discuss what the good part is, right? Let's talk about the good part, the part that I can increase and make it better. Okay, so that means that I have an edge. Okay, I have an edge that I can take and then increase it, right? I have an edge that I have an edge that allows me to take advantage of it. Okay, so how am I going to so essentially so okay, so here's the situation. Here's the situation. Okay, so this is the situation. So I took a trade based on what I do. What I do is so here are the trades that I've identified this week. I've identified a is it called a break and retest? Yeah, it's very similar to a break and retest. It's either a break and retest or it's breaking through resistance. Okay, it's breaking through resistance. That's why that was a problem for me. That also becomes a problem. Okay, that also becomes a problem. It's not bottom. It's not a it's really not a bottom picker. Bottom picker is actually looking for support and then going off of support, right? So this strategy that I was using, is essentially looking for a breakout of either resistance, breaking through resistance, or it is into it's already it has already entered into a trend reversal. Okay, so there's two types of trading that I perform, and it happens quite often, and so I find it useful. Okay, because they're simple to use. These are so if I were to if so so there are two pro there are two so there are two types of things that I'm using in order to become in order to there are two things that I'm using in order to make myself profitable. Okay, so there are two types of trades that I take. Okay, there are essentially two types of trades. I take two types of trades. Okay, one of them is a major trend reversal. The second part is essentially it is a break and retest, which means that the resistance has been broken and then retested and then goes on its own, right? So those are the two types of trades that 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 works. Okay, that works. And the third part now, what I've seen that I've become aware of is called uh, uh, resistance trade. I've seen that work. It is so the context of the context of the efficacy in trading in that particular respects is knowing the higher time frame trend. Okay, if I know the higher time, if I have a better idea, the scope of idea of a higher time frame trend, then I know that when it hits resistance to support, it's going to have that much more credibility, right? So there's three things. There are three things that makes it more effective in my trading, as far as my trading, as far as my edge is concerned. Okay, the first part is identification of what it is with that price. The second is identification of the higher time frame trend. Okay, which will allow me to, which will allow me to, which will influence, which will influence the current time frame. It's going to influence it. It's gonna make it more impactful. Okay, so let's say the price has been decreasing like this, and then the price dips and then comes back up, and then it hits resistance. That resistance is going to be more potent because the higher time frame is in alignment with that current thesis of buying a put or going short. Okay, so knowing the higher time frame. So there's so essentially there's about a trade idea has a minimum, needs a minimum of three things. Okay, this is going to enhance trading. Okay, so there's essentially three things. One of them is, and it's building this. So the first, when I first look at it, I'm looking at the price. Okay, what is the current price? So when I make a trade, I need to be looking at the price. Okay, what is the price? Okay, what is that price? Okay, so I identify the price. Okay, I identify the price, and the price is that. It's the price. It's there. It's the price. Okay, it's there. The price is there. It's the price. It's the price. When I look at the chart, the first thing I see is the price. What's the Bitcoin price right now? It's at 85,000 or at 80,000, right? So thinking is different based on what it is, because it fits into the structure of the chart. The chart has certain things, because historically, Bitcoins have a support at around strong support at 20K. When the price dips at 20K, massive amount of buying occurs at 20K. Historically, it's been true. Okay, so this last time around, Bitcoin went to 80K, and a lot of people bought and brought it back to 85K. Um, Frankly, I have no idea why people are. I have no idea why people are buying Bitcoin when it's just digital. It's digital currency. It has. I mean, it's like it's ones and zeros. Okay, it has no value. People. Anyway, you could create trillions. You can create however many you want. You could cut up bitcoins into trillions. One bitcoin can be cut up into trillions, and it has its own value, right? That's what people want to do. They say, well, it's a limited supply, but you can cut it up to mint sub bitcoins to trillions and trillions and trillions. Anyway, so so now I'm enhancing the business. I'm enhancing what makes my business, which is essentially it's improving the edge. It's a combination of the edge and risk management, and risk size. Okay, okay. These three things are going to spearhead into the trade that I make into a profitable direction. It moves it into a profitable direction. Okay, so defining the edge requires at least three of those things, which is, so when I look at it, the first thing I see is what's the price, okay? Because I need to know where it is. I need to identify. It seems so trivial, but I need to identify. I need to identify at what level is the price. Where is the price, so that I can say, okay, the price is there. Price is there. So then I can look at all the other stuff in relation to where that is, so that I can fit it into the world. If I don't identify what the price is, I can identify what the world is, but I don't know where it is. So even though it seems so trivial, it seems so easy to understand. It seems to be so easy to it seems so easy, but I have to identify. Okay, what's the price? So I look at the price. So the first thing to do is I see the price. Okay, so the price is there. I see the price. I see it. I know it. It's there. I've identified it. I've identified it. It's not a mirage. It's that price. I've identified it. Okay, it's that price, right? So then, second part is now the second part is okay. So I see the price. Um, so should I look at the support and resistance surrounding it? Yeah, I could look into that. So I've identified a price. Now I need to look at the surrounding support and resistance. Okay, what is this support and resistance at that moment? Okay, then I see the support and resistance. Now I need to scope it out a little bit more and see what is the structure. Okay, what's the structure? What's the structure of the current price sitting in? Okay, is it in the Milky Way, or is it somewhere else, or is it somewhere, is it some other place? Okay, is it which solar system is it in? Okay, the solar system is essentially the structure. Okay, I'm identifying what the structure is. Okay, I've identified the price, I've identified the support and resistance areas, and I'm identifying what the structure is. I have to have an idea what the structure is, because it gives me clues to how the price could change based on what the structure, support and resistance is, and what the current price is. It gives me an idea. Then I scope out and then see what the bigger time frame support and the trend is. Okay, so I can see the trend on a bigger. If I fan it out, I can see a bigger. So essentially, what I'm looking for is the immediate trend. Okay, I'm looking for an immediate trend. I need to identify the immediate trend. Okay, that's the idea. That's the idea is to identify the trend, And my identification of the trend is my edge. If my identification of the trend is great, that is my edge. Okay, that's my edge. I can rely on that edge to make money because I've identified the trend to the specific area of trading range that I want to be conducting my business. Okay, makes sense? I hope it does. So when I'm making that trade and I'm identifying these things, then I know what the immediate trend is, even though the bigger trend may be something else, right? The bigger trend may have something else, but the branch of the trade that I want to be trading in, I want to be trading in that range where the trend is effective. I don't want to be sitting in a trade where at a part of the time it's trending against me, okay? In order to fit to the bigger trend, because I'm not a swing trader. I am not a swing trader. I'm not interested in fading into a losing situation in order to come out ahead later on. Okay, that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in the business of identifying that immediate trend where I can enter and then I can take profit with the minimum amount of drawdown. Okay, that's the ideal situation of conducting my business as a trader. So now I've identified these four things: the price, support and resistance, the structure, and the bigger trend, so that I can figure out what the trend is. What is the trend? Okay, what is the trend that I need to identify so I can enter into the trade, right? So from the current price, where is the trend in relation to the support and resistance, the structure, and so now I can see the identification of the area where I need to focus on. Okay, I need to focus on these three areas. Okay, so I to improve my business, I have three things. One of them is really price. It's so simple. The second part is support and resistance areas. And third is what is the structure? Structure is important because it tells me what's going on, like a double bottom. Really, it does. And then higher time trend, which will essentially lead to the trend. That's what I'm looking for. And then okay. So I need to study up on I need to become more aware of support and resistance. So I need this is the area that I need to become really familiar with. Support and resistance areas, the structures, and then identifying time frame trends. Identify see these are so simple, but I take granted. So simple. That is why I am less aware. That is why I'm less aware. Because they are so simple, I believe that I already know it. That's not true. Okay? That's not true because if I assume that I really don't know, I need to know. In order for me to know, I have to fully vet it out. Even though it seems to be so simple, it's really not. It's really not so simple. Like ice. People say, "Oh, it's ice. It's cold." Okay, that's all you need to know. But really, it's more complicated than that, right? It's more complicated. The more that is described about what ice is, I mean, it becomes so essentially. The reason why ice floats is because it's less dense, even though it's made up the same thing, because the crystal structures align, causing it to expand. Okay, when the crystals align, instead of being loosely packed, okay, water is more loosely packed than ice. So that's something that you wouldn't really understand if you say, "Well, I know what water is. I know what why ice is." You won't reach further into it because I conclude that I know it. Okay, that's why people convict innocent people because they say, okay, well what he's guilty. Look at him. He's guilty. Look, huh? He repeated third grade twice, so he's guilty. Holy Jesus. Anyway, so now okay, I see it's so identification of see, this is what Al Brooks is teaching. I had no idea. I didn't realize this. I've been watching his videos for years and I just didn't understand what he was doing. But he was essentially describing how to look at the world. Al Brooks was describing the intricacies. He was looking at the microscope of what the market is so that he can explain away what the market is doing so that I can understand it. Because I thought initially, what the heck is this guy talking about? What is he talking about? But he was going deeper to understand what it is. And people just only look here. That's why they'll never figure out what that is. Okay? He's going deeper. Now I understand what he's talking about. So now I see the invigorated means for me to study further and understand what's going on, and it makes it a lot more interesting about what his intention is. And so now I'll get more out of it because now I'm in alignment with what he's teaching. I can see that. I can see the reasoning behind it. I didn't see the reasoning behind it because I had no idea what trading is. That's the whole point that I paid $400 to get trained from his ideas. Okay, that's why some of the people that post on his website says, "Hey, I'm profitable," right? And he says that they're profitable. Okay, so they must be profitable. For me, I'm gonna be massively profitable. That's the whole point. Okay. So now, so now that I see it, I see what enhancements that I can make in order to improve my game. Okay, so I've already identified three areas where so I've already identified three areas. Okay, uh, two, three. So there are three areas that now I'm like ideas. These are the three areas of that I'll be exploring. Okay, these are the three areas that I'll be exploring. Okay, so um, okay, so support and resistance. I mean, he talks about quite a bit of that. So I need to study more about it so I can use it. Um, so the first, see, if I was writing a book, I think that's how it would be described. I think that's why his training his training materials are in that format because he's already mastered it, and so now he's trying to explain it. So he's chronologically and sequentially placing it so that it makes sense. Now I see it. Ah, oh, okay. See, I finally see. I knew he knew, but I just didn't understand it. It just took me years and years and years to become familiar with what he was trying to do. Okay, so so that's the current situation. Okay, so now So I have these trade ideas. Okay, I have these trade ideas that I can identify within the price, support and resistance areas, structure, and higher time frame to identify the trend, so that I can, at the point of where the current price then essentially represents the ideas that I can take. Okay, so that's the idea, right? Okay. Um. So. Um. Okay. Uh. Boy. Okay. So that's the current idea. But I'm getting tired. Boy, I'm getting tired. I'm an old man. I don't have enough energy. Okay, I'm gonna do some push-ups. Okay. Today is Friday, 11:54 p.m. It is November 21st. It is something that has dreaded. Uh, it has been a dread, really, to talk about this. But I need to talk about this because it has become. It is. It is. That's. It's probably because I didn't talk about it. Is the reason why I'm having so much problems with it, right? So the subject matter is a stop loss. Now I attempted to talk about it numerous times in the past, but I haven't done justice, and I'll probably won't be able to do justice at this time. Okay, but I'm gonna, but I need to talk about it. I have to expand upon it to see why it's not allowing me to explore. I need to know. I need to know why. Okay, I need to know why, because this seems to be one of the biggest plagues of trading. Okay, this seems to be the ring around the rosy kind of thing. Okay, ring around the rosy, we all fall down kind of thing, right? So it's the subject matter is the dreaded thing is called stop loss, and people don't want to think about it. Talk. I okay. I'm not gonna represent the people. I represent myself. Okay. Me thinking that I'm representing other people is unfounded. Okay. So now I need to really buckle down and really visit this to understand, because this is part of so in the world of trading, there are three things as business. One of them, there has to be a product. Second part is what increases business. The third part is what decreases business. Now I'm going to talk about what decreases business, okay? And I'm just going to explore one topic. Okay? There are numerous things which is relevant, which is similar to um, which is similar to many of the things, like one of them, exiting a trade too early. Okay, that's one of them. Let's say it's moving in my direction and I'm going, oh my god, and I get like twitchy and edgy and I want to get out of the trades because I want to preserve the little gain that I have. And had I just kept it, it would have been $40,000, right, on a single trade. So the idea is to really so one of them is like selling too early. The second is adding to a loser, um, and the other is not using stop loss. Okay, which is very similar to like adding to a loser. It's essentially I'm actually making it worse. So um, the other part is like putting too much size into the trade, right? Or putting not enough trade into a trade, right? So there could be a really good trade, and I hesitate to put the size in, so that could be a problem. Um, and the other is just allowing my subconscious to take over and drive the trading. That's another thing. But the biggest one so far, which is related to essentially, if I'm making a little bit of money and I'm getting out early, that's still retaining what I made. And so that's still a positive. It's a positive. But what seems to be the biggest problem is not being able to exit the trade. Okay, so I'm gonna expand upon one trade that I want to like expand upon it. I want to fully vet it out. I want to fully understand. Okay, okay, I may not fully understand it this time around, but I want to like expand upon, explore it so that I can, so that I have a better idea how to navigate it now or later or some other time, right? So here's one example that I did this week, which cost me literally 5% on a single trade, okay, a single transaction. So there were two trades that I made in the same window of time. The first one was on gold, and I was making money, and then I exited. Then at the top, I wasn't even looking at it. I just entered into it because I was focused on two different trades. And so I put like a 10 millilot into the trade, and as soon as I entered, it just reversed. Didn't even go green at all. It just reversed. But I was too preoccupied on the other trade on EU that I just allowed it to just keep going. First of all, I sized too big, and I didn't have a stop loss in there. I needed to, on every trade, there has to be a stop loss. Without a stop loss, unconditionally, there has to be a stop loss. There has to be a stop loss unconditionally. If I don't have a stop loss in a trade, then it's literally now some people say it's 12 o'clock. People say according to this watch, it may not be 12 o'clock, but it's according to it. So some people say, hey, what do you think is going to happen if you don't put a stop loss? It could go against you in a massive way. So this thing that I need to think about, really get it into my mind is understanding what stop loss is. Okay, so what does a stop loss? What is a stop loss? Let's discuss. Let's talk about what is a stop loss. So there's two words. Stop loss. Okay, stop loss is made up of two words. Okay. Stop loss is made up of two words. The word stop and a loss. Okay? Stop means halt. Okay, loss means you lose something. So stop loss means stop the loss. Okay? Stop loss. That's what it means. Stop loss. Okay? Stop loss means stop the loss. That's what it means. So I haven't taken, so it's like being naked, and every trade could turn against me, and it could just run with it, and it would just erase all the gains that I have. That's what every trade can do. If I have a size, I can do stop loss two ways. Okay, one of them is putting on an inconsequential size. I can put a trade on that is so small it is inconsequential, however much move it does. Okay, that's one way of stop loss, and I can do that, but the gains will be inconsequential as well. So it's really, why make the trade then? Okay, why make the trade? Why do you wait? Why am I wasting time making a trade that is irrelevant but uses my energy to do it? Is it because I want to like test it out? Okay, maybe that may make sense. It's to say, okay, I'm thinking this way. I'll put it in there to see if my thinking is clear-headed. See if it's going to work out. That's possible, right? That's definitely possible. That's useful in that respects. Okay, so now when I enter a trade, and so going back to this single trade, I want to analyze this to the fullest so that whatever happens, if I don't resolve it today, it's going to resolve it some other time. Okay. So now I'm looking at the situation. So the part is this, where I made a trade on EU, and I had thought, and I described this on a previous video about the resistance, and so the price went up, and I thought, oh, I have no idea why I did it, because it never occurred to me that I thought, well, it's going up, but I saw the price and I saw the candle, and I'm thinking to myself, the candle's saying that it's going to go up. So I thought to myself, okay, so I should enter with size and then ride it up, which was incorrect because my thinking was incorrect. Okay. Okay. Boy, I really don't want to talk about this. I really don't. And I'm like dragging my feet, and I'm like pausing this YouTube video, and doing all sorts of things to avoid talking about this. The single most popular subject matter. Okay, that it's called the stop loss. The single most, the single most important subject matter, and I'm dragging my feet. I'm dragging my feet because I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want it to like think about it. I really don't want to think about this to me the most important thing right now. So I'm going to talk about this. Is important. This is business. And even though I don't want to talk about it, there are certain things, that occur in a business that I really don't want to talk about, but it has to be talked about. It's important. I have to talk about it. Okay? So I have to talk about this. I literally have to talk about this, but I really don't want to talk about it. It's like pulling teeth. Okay? It's like pulling teeth, and I really do not want to talk about it, but it has to be talked about. It has to be understood. It has to be done. It needs to be discussed. Okay? Right now, my thinking is, boy, I really don't want to visit this because it's so uncomfortable. I really don't want to explore it. I really don't want to. I don't know why, but I just really don't want to spend time on it. I really don't want to spend time talking about the stop loss. I really don't. It's unnatural for me to talk about it. I just don't want to talk about it. I really, really don't want to talk about it. I don't know what's going on with me, but psychologically speaking, I really don't want to talk about the stop loss, but it needs to be talked about. It needs to be vetted out. So I need to keep talking about it. I need to understand it a little more. The only way to understand it a little more is for me to explore it. That means I have to talk about it. I cannot hide it. I cannot avoid it. It has to be done at a certain time. It is something that it needs to be done. Okay? All right. So no more delays. No more anything. I've walked like three laps around here to get my brain working a little bit. I did a little bit of push-ups about 30 minutes ago. Now I really need to discuss it because it's people who have conquered it. They'll say, yeah, stop loss is important. You need to do it. Okay, that's after lots of experience and reasoning behind it. So it's a stop loss. It's a stop loss. The actions that I take will allow me to stop the loss. So today's Saturday. Um, so I took some trades. So two trades, and I put a 10 milli lot on a AU, and as soon as I entered, didn't even turn green. It just started to go down. And then when I last looked at it, it was at 1% loss. And then at that time, I closed it. Okay, I could have closed it earlier, but it just never occurred to me that I should have closed it earlier. Okay, so then at the same time, I had EU where my attention was preoccupied. That's why I didn't address it properly. And so then I had so now I had EU and I had like three lots on. Three. Three lots. Three, those are big lots, three lots. And the way that it was moving, each of them was more than 1% when it moved. And so and these purchases were purchased while it was going down, okay? While it was going down, I started purchasing it. Uh, because I'm thinking, okay, it's got to be the bottom, but it's not a bottom. You have to figure out what the bottom is. You have to fully understand what the bottom is. You have to understand what the bottom is. Okay? You have to understand what the bottom is in order to understand it. It goes it goes you have to understand it so that you can enter for a bottom, but it's not easy because it's a lot of it is like fake. because it'll go down, it'll bounce up and then go down, bounce up, go down. By the time you're in here thinking that it's green, and then you go in there and then you get trapped and you just fall right back down, right? And so that is the difficult part of it. That's something that is the difficult part of it. So I have to understand what a bottom is in order for me to properly use it. If I don't understand what the bottom is, then it's very difficult to use it properly in trading. All right. So now Al Brooks has that. I've visited many times, so I'll revisit it to fully appreciate what he's talking about. Okay, so stop loss is, now I want to get the concepts right. I want to make sure that I understand it. I want to understand at which point I can say that, okay, if I exit this trade, whether it's going to bounce back or not, it really doesn't matter, because I need to exit at that point, because at that point my thesis is incorrect. So when the trade turns out to be incorrect, then I need to exit the trade. It's simple as that. Okay, it's simple as tic-tac-toe, which means if the trade is no longer valid, then I need to exit, because it is. At a certain point, I'm saying to myself, at a certain point, when the trade moves against me, I have to conclude when this happened, this is the reason I need to exit the trade. Okay? So now this is, I'm like delaying it as long as possible, but I need to really think about this. Okay, so I take a trade. I enter a trade, and the trade either moves in my direction or moves against my direction. Okay, so I'm looking at the price. So how do I assess this, and how do I exit it? Okay, stop loss means that when I enter into a trade, uh, it's either good or bad. Okay, it's either good or bad. That's what it means. When I enter into a trade, it means that it's either good or bad. Good means that it's in a positive territory. Bad means is like it's in a drawdown. So why would I exit? Okay, so there's a couple points where I would exit. Okay, there's a couple points when in profit and when not in profit. I can exit before it hits profit target. I can also elect to exit the trade. I can also elect to exit the trade. I can also exit the trade when it's in drawdown. When I conclude that this is not an ordinary drawdown. There's going to be a drawdown based on the spread and the possible candle action, which will still make it valid, because it's a range of an area where I enter to in the prospects of my thesis being correct. So stop loss means, okay, so why would I exit the trade? Why? Okay, so I have to understand the mechanics of what a stop loss is. Okay, I exit the trade because it has gone beyond the point where I say that I'm exiting. This is very, very critical. This is something that I have to have on every trade. If I don't have that on every trade, so what am I saying? So when I enter a trade without knowing the stop loss, what does that mean? What does it mean when I enter into the trade without a stop loss? What does that mean to me? What message am I sending to my trade? So I enter a trade without setting a stop loss. Why would I do that? So so when I drive a car, see, I'm trying to understand it, because like I said, I'm a slow man. So when I drive a car, it's like backing out without even looking. So in my mind, I have to say to myself, when I back out, if there's a car, I need to stop right there and then. Okay? So I see something, I identify it as something that is impeding the progress of my backward move. And so I stop before there is a collision that occurs. Okay? So in trading, what is a collision? Collision. I have to know what a collision is. Collision occurs when the price hits a level where I say that I need to exit the trade. That's what it means. So how do I set that limit? So what is a collision? So what is a collision in trading? What is a collision in trading? What is it? So what is a collision in trading? What is it? What is a collision in trading? Okay, what is a collision in trading? What makes a trade a collision? What is it? What is it that causes a collision to occur in trading? Okay, so what causes it? So what causes it? So yesterday it just went to a level where it reached the daily, almost the daily loss limit. That's a collision point. Okay, that's the collision point. I said in my mind, in mentally, that when it hits that point, it's a loss because my thinking is that if I make a trade and I lose and I exit, then essentially my window of opportunity to make the trade is small, and so that's not good. Okay, and so when I lose two or three times, that makes it even worse, and so I have to make that trade back or hold it until it recovers, because my chances of recovering is small. But that thinking is incorrect, because what I can do is that if I have a small uh, difference between the daily loss limit and a certain amount, then I can leverage that off of to make a smaller trade to increment up until I get to the point that's big enough for me to take bigger risks. So I can do that. Okay, so that's the misnomer nomer that I can get rid of. Okay, so I did that. Okay, so now, so now, so when I make a trade, if it's not the daily loss limit, then I need to set it at a point where I say that the trade is no longer valid. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, so there's three states. There are three states to trading. There are three states of price. One of them is going up, one of them is down sideways, and one of them is going down. Okay, so when I enter into the trade, when it's going sideways, there's no reason for me to exit the trade because it's going to sideways. The trade may or may not still be a legitimate. If it's going sideways, it's wrong, but still it's going sideways. So I have to reassess whether my thesis is still correct or not. The fact that I entered into the trade while it's going sideways means that I'm wrong, because it should have moved when I entered into it, because when I enter, my idea is that I enter so that I catch the trend, which means that I failed in identifying the trend. That's why it's going sideways, because I failed. I failed to identify that it is a trend. Okay? So there's three things that will happen, okay? So there are three things. There are three things that are occurring: going up, going sideways, or going down. Now, if my thesis is in alignment, if my thesis is in alignment and it's going up and I catch that at the point where it's moving up, then my thesis will be correct and I hold on to it. Okay? So there's three areas. There's essentially three areas. It moves up a little bit, it goes sideways. Okay? It goes sideways. In a scenario where I'm in profit. Okay? In a scenario where there's three threes. There's a lot of threes. There's a lot of threes going on. Okay? There's a lot of threes going on. Okay? So a lot of things. There's like three. Like it's like quantum physics. There's like three different states. Okay? 0, 1, and some other state. So so there's three weights. So when it's going up, it it's it has gone up. Okay. Uh, so it has gone up, but it could move sideways after it goes up, or it could dip while it's up, or it could go even more. If it goes more, then that's good. I keep holding on to it. But if it goes sideways, then I think about, okay, um, so do I hold on to it or do I exit? Because what it's saying is that it has reached a point of resistance. So anytime there's resistance, there's selling going on, and so possibly there will be at a point where it's going to reverse and go down. Okay, so there is that possibility. So that means that it relies on uh, two things. One of them, if it's holding, then I have to assess. Okay, so is it giving hints that it's going down, or is it hints that it's going up? So out of those three different states, when it is in the holding pattern of moving sideways, then I have to assess whether the thesis at what the price is, had I gone in at that moment, is it prudent to go long or go short in that situation, right? So at any price, I have to analyze whether something is going to move up, sideways, or down. Okay, and what am I seeing when I look at that price and the structure at every moment? What is the support and resistance at a point where it's there? Okay, what is the structure that is part of? Is it part of it, or is it creating a new one? And how is it? How is it? How do I trade it? Okay, is it going up? Is it going down? Or how does that work? Okay. So even if the price is up, it could go up or it could go down. If it's parabolic, it's obvious, it's easy at the point where it's going up. But if it reverses, then my thesis is may or may not be still valid, because even if it's in profit, it could, maybe it's doing a break and retest at a certain point where resistance is. Okay, that's certainly possible, right? So then I constantly analyze whether the price is going to move up or move down or move sideways. Now, the reason why I would get out of the trade is knowing at a point where there is a trend reversal. There is a reversal that is occurring. When I confirm to my satisfaction that there is a reversal, that's the only reason I would exit the trade. I would exit the trade if I know that while I've entered into the trade, the trend is in one direction, and I see that the reversal has occurred. And then when that reversal has occurred, at the earliest, I need to exit the trade. As I would enter into the trade at the earliest point of where the trend has started, I would enter. But I would have to exit at a point where it's earliest when I detect, because it could be wrong, whether I'm entering and exiting, it still could be wrong, okay? But I need to visit this and understand it. Okay, I need to visit it and understand it, and keep talking about it. Okay, I need to understand. I have to understand how that works. Okay. So that means, okay, so what went wrong with that trade? What went wrong? Okay, so the trade went up like this, and then I entered thinking that it's going to continue going on, but it reversed. Okay, so that means, okay, so I need to analyze this, and then as it started to go down, I started adding, which is totally wrong. You never want to add to a loser. You never want to add to a loser unless you see a certain situation where you're near where the support is, and somehow you get in and you wanna like buffer in. But normally, what you want to do is you want to only go up when the trend is in the right direction. You only enter. You only enter when the trend is in your direction or the thesis. Okay, that's when you only enter. Okay, so what did I do wrong? Okay, so how am I dismantling my business when I don't sell? Okay, I didn't sell that. Okay, so I did that three times with significant losses each time, and I didn't learn it. Okay, this weekend is hopefully will address this situation where now I will make it a habit, even if I forget the significance of why I have to do this, that even if I just carry on and do it, it's like it's a given. It's something that has been, it's like a drill sergeant that has told me that I have to do this because there's a reason behind it, and it needs to be done, and it's done even if there's no consequences that I foresee. Only the after fact of hindsight, when I look at the trade and I say, oh, hey, look, this is the reason why I did that. Okay, so on hindsight, I can see it. I can be either right or wrong. Even if it returns and goes in the direction, I want to make sure that I'm trading the right way, and I haven't been trading it the right way on Friday. Okay, it may have been the same on previous days because I was just lucky in choosing my using my thesis, and my thesis was correct. And it just turns out on a Friday it just didn't work out. So this is a critical point in my life where I'm discussing this. I have to discuss it. I have to make sure this is correct. I have to incorporate it into my business because I want my business to thrive. I want my business to thrive. And this is something that has been hindering me. This is the sawtooth kind of thing that occurs. First of all, my thesis is incorrect and I didn't stop it. And that's why it does that. Even if my thesis is incorrect, it's part of trading. And so it'll dip a little bit. But if I get out, then my loss is limited and I can live to keep trading. Okay. So that's the idea. All right. Now, so this is something, the reason why I'm having to talk about this is crystal clear. The reason why I can't say that I have to use a stop loss and end it, and this video is short, it is something that I have to keep talking about it that allows me to expand upon it for self, to become conscious of what I need to do as a trader, right? So the fact that I keep talking about it and the fact that it's already been 30 minutes means that I haven't fully vetted this thing out, okay? It just means, it means that I haven't fully vetted it out yet, okay? So I have to vet this out. So how am I going to vet this out, okay? So the stop loss, and many of these people don't talk about it too much because it seems to be so obvious, but it really hasn't been obvious. It's obvious, but it's hard in practice. It's difficult in practice. So now, so normally if I were to just draw it out, okay, if I just draw it out, so it goes here and then here and then like that, and maybe the support was here and resistance here, and then so somehow I got in right there, point A. I got in at point A, but instead of going up, it keeps going down that way. That means there's a point where I say that, okay, so my thesis is incorrect. Okay, at which point is my thesis incorrect? At which point is my thesis incorrect? Okay? So at which point is my thesis incorrect? At which point is my thesis incorrect? Okay, so at a certain point I'm entering in because I've identified that okay, so let's say I've identified a reversal right here. Okay, so I've identified the reversal. That's point A, and I'm thinking that it's going to go up. But normally, what happens is that when it dips, it'll bounce up and then keeps going down. So, at what point would I accept the fact that it is because I still don't want to be in a trade when it's like moving sideways. I don't, because what I can do is I can lose a little bit to exit the trade so I can freely enter into trade when I'm ready. Okay, when it's moving sideways, I don't want to be in the trade. When it's moving down and I'm thinking it's going to go up, I don't want to be in the trade. I want to exit as soon as possible. So at what point? So that's one example. Let's say it's going down, it plopped up, and then it's here somewhere. Okay, so then I have a region where I say, okay, so if it exit this, if it moves out of this region, so some people are talking about, okay, so if you put a stop loss here, the price is going to move back and forth at a certain point. So you have to give it enough room to move. Okay, you have to put it into room because you're late into the trade. You're late into the trade, which means that the size has to be small. So you have to think about what size you need to trade when you're late into the trading. Okay, if you're early into trading, the size can be bigger because the stop loss is going to be closer to where your entry is, so that the loss will be smaller. But if the size is essentially, so if the size is big, okay, if the size is big, then I have to make sure that it's in the early stage. Okay, it's in the early stage. Okay, so I have to keep talking about this. I have to understand. Even if I talk to somebody else, I have to fully understand what's going on. Okay, I have to understand it. If I don't understand it, then I'm gonna keep repeating this, and I don't want to do that. Today, I'm hoping that today will be the last day that I visit this to this extent to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, and don't worry about anything else. Okay, don't worry about God because God is with you and God knows that you're doing this. So don't even think about it. Okay, so you're all good. Always think positive. Okay, you're doing this because you're doing this because you want to get out of this financial situation so that you can finally live like a normal person instead of living out of a car. Okay, so I know, so everything is good. Okay, everything is good. Okay, everything is good. All right, just think positive. All right, so now I have to pinpoint exactly at what point that I exit the trade. So let's say it does this and I get in, it does this, so I'm thinking it's going to go up, but it reverses, it goes the other direction. Then I need to exit. But which point do I exit? What point do I exit when that happens? Okay? So at which point do I exit? Which allows me to freely trade in many of the instances, even the parabolic ones, when it's moving and I'm late into the trade, then I have to know where the stop loss is. I have to say, okay, so there's a risk that I'm taking, but I'm riding the momentum, but that momentum could be wrong. So when that momentum is wrong, I need to exit the trade as soon as possible, and the loss could be heavy. The loss could be very, very heavy, and so I need to exit the trade. So let's take one at a time. So it goes up, I high ticked it, it goes down. So that means that my trade is wrong. Right off the bat, it's wrong. Okay, even if it hesitates, it's wrong. So what if it hesitates? Okay, if it hesitates, it means that it's at resistance and it is liable to go to the other direction. And so, at what point would I say when that occurs? Okay, so let's say I'm slightly late into the trend. Let's say I'm slightly late, and it is at a point where it's here, and then I'm slightly late, and so I've top ticked it. Okay, I've top ticked it. Now it's like reversing. But at what point am I exiting the trade? Okay, so for that particular instance, obviously I wouldn't be adding. Okay, when it's dropping like that, I'm not adding. I need to exit the trade. I cannot rely on the previous trade to keep bleeding and then add more to bleed. I cannot do that. That's wrong. I've done that. Still, that's not right. I cannot do that. So I need to stop that. I'll stop that right now. Okay, that's part of the means. The means of stop loss is multiple ways. Okay, one of them is I'm saying, okay, I'm stopping. I'm not gonna add. That's actually stop loss. Okay, I'm not adding. That's part of the stop loss. Now, that's one part. The second part is okay. I'm in profit, but I don't want to give away the profit, so I'm just gonna exit. If there's a hint of pullback or whatever it is, I need to exit the trade, right? So that's the second part. Now the third part, which is most the difficult part, is understanding where to exit. Where to exit once I'm in the trade, and the trade is supposed to be going in the direction that I've identified as the way that it should be going. Okay, so now the reason I'm talking like this is because I'm not fully aware of what the stop loss is. If I knew by heart what a stop loss is, the conversation about the stop loss would be fast done with. I would say like, okay, stop loss needs to be done. Simple. Right? You can't trade. Even if you set your mental stop loss, you have to condition your mind, condition my mind. Even if I'm trading with a mental stop loss, I have to condition it so that that mental stop loss will be done. It is done. Okay? I have to set it up that way. Either it's done or it has to be done. Okay? So now I'm looking at this situation where I want to make sure that so the other one was I got in thinking that it's going to keep going up, which was in error. So if I have an error and it's going against me, then I need to exit the trade at that point. And so the third scenario is I'm thinking, okay, so it's going up, and then I enter, and just reverses all of a sudden. Okay, let's say there's a candle that's moving from like support. It broke the support. It's going down, and then I see this red candle, and it's pointing down. It's going up, and as soon as I enter, it just shoots right back up. Okay, that happens. That happens. Okay, so I so the stop loss is going to be at a point where the support, the resistance is, because it could shoot right back up and then come back down. The size has to be appropriate when that happens, right? The size has to be appropriate. So when I'm trading big, it means that I'm not even considering the possibility of moving in the opposite direction, where either the support and resistance is the area where I need to exit the trade, because what I want to do is protect myself. I need to protect myself. I need to protect myself. I need to protect myself that when the trade goes beyond a support and resistance, that's the point where I exit the trade. When it broke through that support and resistance, it means that my trade is ineffective and is contrary to the thesis that I created, right? So, okay, so okay, so I need to practice, because now I have an idea. So now I have an idea. I have an idea what needs to be done. Okay, so I have an idea what needs to be done. Okay, so the stop loss. Stop loss. I have an idea why it needs to be done. It needs to be done, and it will be done. And okay, so so this is the money saver. This part of the three things. Okay, I have to have a product. I have to have something that increases the business. I have something that stops the business from losing. Okay, so when I make a trade, when I enter the trade, uh, first of all, the reason why it didn't make any sense is because the thesis was half baked. Okay, the thesis for AU and EU was half baked. Okay, if I had properly utilized the entry, if I had properly utilized the entry, I would have thought about where the exit is, support and resistance is. Okay, and it would have been thought out much better than what the situation was on Friday, because of those two trades. So as soon as I entered, AU moved again. So I should have said, because my thinking was that my thesis was correct all day, so it should be correct. And then it just turned out this thesis was the one that this is the thesis that was the one that caused me to lose. Okay, so even a trade that I made, even a trade I was in that was getting me to the point where I was like break even for the day, and it reached it, but I never sold, because it just never occurred to me to exit the trade, because as soon as it entered into the point where I've broken even, I still kept it, because the greed in me that says, okay, it just blocked me from seeing that resistance. It blocked me from seeing that resistance. As soon as I got there, I should have assessed, is this the point where there is resistance that will cause me to sell? Okay? Otherwise, it's going to reverse, and it's going to erase the gain that I have. And it's going to make things worse and worse and worse. Okay? There's also that psychological part of like being in a drawdown that makes me make me think that there's that psychological component of trading that is making it more difficult to practice this support, this stop loss. Okay, so let's so I, I know that this is a very, very difficult situation. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. So how do I resolve this in the most easiest manner? Okay, so let's figure this out. Talking from um, the simplest, the easiest way to exit a trade. Okay, what is the most ideal stop loss situation? What is the most the most ideal situation? What is the most ideal situation? Okay. What is the most ideal situation? So, the ideal situation is this: drops, goes up, I enter, and then exit, and then I identify where the stop loss is, and I exit. So then, how do I minimize it? So first, I have to identify so that I can minimize. Okay, I have to identify so that I can minimize. So the premise is that the price that I entered is the point where it's going to move up. But if it breaches it, if it goes down by so much, then I have to exit. So I have to understand what so much means. Right? I have to understand what so much means. When I enter the trade, my thesis is that it's going to go in that direction. It's going to continue. Okay? Unabated, unobstructed, and without retracement. That's my thinking. So when I enter a trade, I'm not saying to myself, okay, so generally speaking, I don't want to say that it's going to pull back a certain amount and then go back up. Then why not just wait until it hits that price? Okay? Why not just wait? Why not just wait until there's a pullback and enter into the point where it's an entry instead of entering into it? Okay? So that's the thinking that I need to straighten out, right? So, see, all these professionals who are on YouTube, they know these things. Okay? They make it so easy, but it's not easy. It's not easy for me, okay? Especially somebody who's repeated third grade, okay? Okay, so I still haven't fully vetted it out yet. I have not I have not fully vetted it out yet. Okay? I haven't fully vetted it out. So I took a trade and then I entered thinking that it's going to go up, but it went down. And I repeated it multiple times. Why? I don't know why I did that. Okay? So it just didn't make any sense. Okay? It just didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense at all. I think what happened is that I was caught up in the momentum. And I thought because it was going up and up and up, I was looking at the candle instead of looking at the support and resistance where the entry should occur. So entries need to occur at a point of support and resistance. Entries must occur at the region of support and resistance. It cannot occur anywhere else. Okay, it cannot enter. It cannot be anywhere else unless I have a contingency plan of saying, okay, it's uptrending. It's a continuous trending thing. So always enter might be in play, right? Based on what I've seen so far, as the candles start to build up, and I can enter and say that. But at a certain point, I have to say to myself, if it pulls back more than this, then I need to exit because most likely it is a reversal. So the loss can be mitigated when that happens. And when it's always in, I can still scale in at a certain point, and I can have a break-even point where I say, well, if all the trades are going against me, then I can call it a moot point and exit the trade with essentially break-even kind of thing, right? Right? That's the idea. Okay, so that's the idea. All right, so so for me, I need to keep talking about this so that I can get more familiar with this thing. I have to be more familiar with it. I have to vet it out. I have to understand it. It needs to be discussed. It needs to be recorded, and I need to speak it, enter it into my ear and into my mind so I can think about it. I can understand it. Okay, I can understand what's going on. Okay. So that's the current situation. All right. So now, So now I see the importance. Do I see the importance of stop loss still yet? Do I see it? Do I see the importance of stop loss right now? Do I see it? Okay. It feels like I still don't understand it yet. It seems to me that I still need to have some serious loss and loss of the years in order for me to continue. Okay. So what is the benefit of a stop loss? Okay. The stop loss is there, and it'll only stop something that pulls back for real or fake. Okay, either for fake or real. And what are the statistical difference between a real and a fake when something moves in the direction? It's something that I do not want to find out. Okay, even if it pulls back, the pullback could be significant, and I don't want to be put in that situation because it damages the emotion involved either, too. So that means that my exit needs to occur at a point where it breaches. So the only reason why I would exit the trade is if it breaches support and resistance, right? What 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 single reason? What single reason would I exit the trade? The price breaks support and resistance. That's the only reason why I would exit the trade, right? I would use a stop loss. That's the only reason. That's the only reason that I would exit the trade if if it broke support or resistance. That's the only reason that I would exit the trade with a loss. Right? That's the only reason. Okay? That's the only reason. The support and resistance is either my mind of the risk. There's multiple stop losses. There's multiple type of stop loss. One of the stop loss is the risk. The risk that's involved. The risk can cause the stop loss to be different. There is also a stop loss based on support and resistance. So there's different types of stop losses. There's different types of stop. This is something that I didn't think about until I talked about it. There's at least two different types of stop losses. Okay? If I have a big size, if it goes past a certain point, I don't want to risk it because it could go, even though if it's still within the support and resistance, I need to exit because I don't want to find out. So that's the inability for me to properly assess whether the stop loss is in alignment with the two types of trading I'm doing based on risk. Is it based on risk size, or is it based on support and resistance? There's two types of support and stop losses. There's two types of stop losses. Okay, I didn't realize that there's two types of stop losses. If I put a risk in there, that means that it is outside of the normal support and resistance, where I say that the support and resistance. There's a type of trades. There's a type of trades that are based on support and resistance. There's type of trades that are based on risk size. So there's two different types of stop losses. There's two different stop losses. So in most cases, what happens is that when I make a trade, it is possible. It is so there's two different statistical probabilities. Okay, so when I'm in a trade, when I'm in a trade, it's moving up. I'm saying that statistical probabilities higher, which means that when I take the trade going in that direction, that means that I'm willing to risk a certain size based on the risk size that I have, instead of relying on support and resistance to do the stop loss. So the second part seems to be the okay idea. It may not be right. It may not be right. It needs to be based on based on the trade. I have to match the risk based on the current situation of the. I have to match the risk size with the type of trade. I have to match the risk size with the support and resistance setup. I have to say, okay, the current price is here, the support is here, and I wanna put the stop loss here. And what kind of risk size do I put in there so that I would be okay with? Is it half a lot? I mean, 0.5%. If it's a 0.5%, then I'm saying, okay, so when it gets to the point and it reaches 0.5%, and it's actually, so it needs to match up with the exceed of that support. Okay, it has to go beyond it, and at that point, it marks the point where it's a 0.5%. Then I exit the trade, and I'm saying that the trade is null and void. Okay, it goes up, it comes down to the point where it didn't. But if it goes up, comes back, and then bounces up, that could still be valid. But that's something that means that I've entered into too early. Okay. All right. So the second part that I was thinking about is essentially entering into a trade where it's already in a trend and I'm getting in there a little bit late. Okay, when I enter the trade that's either late or the risk size is a little beyond where the support and resistance point of where the trade becomes nullified, that means that the stop loss has to be at a certain point, which is close to where the entry point is, uh, the shy of the point where it exceeds the support. Why am I pulling up my finger like that? Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? It's like God is hearing me, and I'm like, and it's making sense. Because here I thought there was only one type of stop loss, but in reality, there's two types of stop loss. And I'm getting a thumbs up from my subconscious or whatever it is. God must be monitoring the conversation that I'm having. Okay? God must be, God must be, God must be hearing what I'm talking about. And when God heard about this trading and gave me a thumbs up, why is that? So, I'm looking at this situation, and what do you call it when you drag a kid do something that they don't want to do? It's like crying and dragging, and it's like pulling teeth, man. Pulling teeth. I remember when I was young and I had to pull teeth, and it was so frightening. I don't know why it was so frightening. There was a teeth that was like hang dangling, and I had to remove it. But it's so frightening. It's like that's why it's like pulling teeth. When it's something I don't want to do, it's pulling teeth. Okay, it's dangling. It's so frightening. It's painful. But once it's pulled out. But until then, it's like just fear. It's like something. Yeah, it's like pulling teeth to get this figured out. It's like pulling teeth. I think what happens is that um, people don't believe that I'm working 24/7 here. Okay, somehow somebody the authority figure probably connected the dots of me talking for like 2 hours straight now. Okay, this is the second hour that I'm talking, and then realize, hey, this guy is not effing around. He's trying to become profitable on his business. He's working on his business. That's probably why I'm getting a thumbs up here, right? Like that, I think. Look at that. The thumb right there is the same size as my head right there. Look at that. It's bald like my head. See that? Anyway, so that's the current situation. So now there's two types of stop loss. I didn't realize that. Something so simple, I just didn't realize that there's two types of stop losses, not just one. There's two types of stop losses. One based on risk size and one based on support and resistance. Okay? Let's say a trade is well developed, and I'm entering into a trade that is already in late into the trade, which means that I don't want the trade to go stop loss, put it all the way back where it is. I want to exit the trade with a minimum amount of risk, knowing that if there's a pullback of sufficient amount, I don't want to be in that trade because it could go all the way down to where that support is, and that's not. I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to risk it because it could go all the way down, and the loss is so significant. That's the mind. That's why I can't sell because I'm hoping in my mind. The reason why I'm not The reason why I'm not executing or following up on the support, the stop loss, is because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, whenever I enter, it's gonna hit that support somewhere. That support is somewhere. That's why when it misses the first one, I'm thinking, oh man, there's got to be another one a little bit down. But by the time that occurs, it's like 4% loss. Okay, I can't have that. It is not going to happen. It needs to stop this week. So there'll be a couple things that I will do which will allow me to make a dramatic difference. Something that's going to make a dramatic difference. There's this YouTube channel called Etienne Crete, and this guy was talking about how I think one of his associate was talking about the difference between adding to a loser and adding to a winner. And finally, when the profitability occurs when adding to a winner occurs. Okay? The final breakthrough occurs when adding to a winner occurs, not adding to a loser. People do that because they've been saved numerous times, but in reality, that's the wrong way of doing it. If you average it out, statistically speaking, you don't want to be in that kind of a trade. You want to be in a trade where you're right. If you're not right, you need to exit the trade. You don't want to be holding on to the next support. That's too expensive. And that may or may not be the support. Okay, that's the reason why I need to exit the trade. That's why there's a stop loss. Okay? Stop loss is allowing me to enter it in trade so that I have to figure out where the next support is. Okay? If it's year 1929, the support is bankruptcy. Okay? That's what it means. It means I don't have to find out where the support is like in year 1925. It could happen. So hopefully the dynamics of these two things will change the totality of my trading for the next starting next week. So these two things will occur. I pray to God. God, it's like being addicted to alcohol. It's like being an alcohol. Okay, I have to ask God this. God, I fully vetted out this situation called a stop loss. I could keep talking on and on and on and on and on ad nauseum until the cows come home. But it is your word that brings into existence. It is your word. God, help me become fully conscious of the stop loss. Okay, we'll leave it at that and allow God to handle things. Okay, so starting next week, the idea is to discover a little bit more about the entry points. Okay, the signals. I'm looking for a signal now. Okay, I'm looking for a particular entry. Okay, I can see what the ballpark figure is. Okay, so there's two things that I'm going to be focusing on: the entry and the exit. Okay. So the exit will be profit exit and loss exit. Okay, and then entry will be based on complementing the trade idea, which is essentially looking at current price, support and resistance, structure, and higher time frame. Right. So I'm looking at that particular situation, but I need to look a little bit closer. Like many of these professional traders talk about, once they identify, they go into a lower time frame to identify at which point they want to enter, because to maximize the profit. Okay, so that's why they do that. So I need to do that. So I need to look at the proper entry point for gaining entry. I need to study up on it. I have to understand. I have to become expert at these three things. Okay. I have to become an expert at these three things. Identification of the trend is based on generating the thesis. Okay, that's one. Okay, the second part is exit with profit. Okay, exit with profit. Okay, right? Exit with profit and exit with loss. Okay, right? So entry. Okay, so entry and exit. So I have to identify. So I have to constantly think about there are three things that I need to see. Everything comes in threes. I don't know. I don't know how that happens. I have no idea how that happens, but it happens in threes. One of them is, one of them is, one of them is the thesis, generating the thesis behind it. Okay, so so the first part is, what is the current price? What's the support and resistance? What is the structure? What is the higher time frame? What is the higher time frame a trend? Okay, so I look at that, and then and then I identify where the entry is going to occur based on looking at a lower time frame to identify at a point where I exit. Okay, is there going to be a do I just enter willy nilly and then absorb the spread based on my inaccuracy of entry, or do I look at it and say, okay, the price should hit that, and if I hit it, it'll be there, and making it a high probability that it will hit it. Okay, so that's the so that's the second part. An exit is, okay, when it gets to the point where I'm in profit, I'm in a totally different game now. I need to look at it, and so I should be looking at, okay, so what am I looking at when the price is, so the psychology is going to be different based on when it's moving against me. If it starts moving against me, it's okay. Where do I exit? Where do I exit? So when I'm in profit, I'm saying, okay, so where do I add? Where do I add? Okay, so I need to be thinking about that too. Where do I add? And then I need to switch my mind when it's going against me. It's going against me. Where do I exit? Where do I exit? So the idea is, when I'm in a trade, I'm constantly thinking about, okay, so do I add? Do I add, or do I exit? Do I add or do I exit? So I need to think about those kind of things. And so the identification of these three different things is going to help me put any size at risk. The dynamics and the changes that I do, even the same trade with different risk size, is going to make it slightly different, because all these things are integrated together, tied together in a web. And when I jingle one side, the other side knows about it because they're all linked together, right? Right? Yeah. So I'm this is my fifth year. I'm 56 years old. It's like finding Jesus. Okay? It's like trading is like just like finding Jesus. At any point in my life, when I find him, it's the right time. Right? So hopefully I talked about stop losses this much and discovered that there's two different types of stop losses. Okay? The first is based on risk. I can look at it from the risk perspective. I can also look at it from the structural perspective of support and resistance. Okay? So it's going to be different the way that I exit. The point of exit is going to be different based on the risk size. Because the risk size for support and resistance is adjusted to meet the support and resistance structure. But stop loss based on risk is going to be based on how much it moves, not based on support and resistance. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait until it's support before I figure it out. If I'm entering into a trade where it's worth it for me to enter into trade, but the thing is, the risk is going to be high because the support is way down here, and if I wait for the support to reach it after entry point, the risk size does not allow me to hold it for that long. And in many cases, when I'm trading, I need to rely on the second part of stop losses in order for me to exit the trade. So I have to put a set number. I say, okay, so if I'm wrong, I need to exit the trade. The benefits of doing the second part of stop loss, there may be some validity to it. Perhaps later on, I can explore it. So there's two different types. The one standard way of stop loss, which is restricting the risk size, or the risk size is restricting how much I lose. Okay, so I need to work on those two. So there are three things that I need to work on. Okay. So entry is important. Okay, the thesis is important. I always have to cultivate that thesis of thesis. Always work on the thesis. The second part is entry point. How do I maximize it so that when I'm entering it, it matches up still with the thesis, but I maximize it so that it's optimal. The third part is the exit. Whether it's going to be in profit or whether it's in a drawdown or based on the stop loss, how do I set it so that I maximize it, right? So those are the three things that I recorded today so that I can work on it. I need to be constantly working on it, constant study on it to make it work. So those are the things that I need to work on. Okay. So thesis, and 2 is entry, 3 is exit. Okay. The significance will come to light as I become more familiar with what I'm doing, and hopefully it's going to be a very, very exciting thing here. Okay, starting next week. What I plan to do is keep working on the point where when I'm entering at a point where I'm on the front side, not the back side. Okay, if I'm on the back side, I don't want to find out where the support is by adding to it. That's essentially adding to a loser. Okay, that's not a good idea. That's not a survivability kind of a trading kind of thing. So either I'm right or wrong, and certain prop firms already know about this. They have rules that are set in there that allows people to understand how that works. The rules are already there, knowing that that's the right way to trade. Okay, some other firms allow certain things to occur to allow the individuals to make it work for them. Okay, instead of setting hard rules for the way how the trading rules are made. Okay, so so it's a constant struggle to understand this, to optimize it, so that it's a constant struggle. Okay, thesis, entry and exit. Thesis, entry and exit. It's T. TEE. Okay? Thesis, entry, exit. Okay? I need to always work on it. I need to always have a Boston Tea Party. I always have to have a Boston Tea Party. I always have to have a Boston Tea Party. Okay? I have to have it. It's got to be a Boston Tea Party. Boston Tea Party. Okay? Entry, thesis, entry, and exit. Okay, that's what I need to do. Okay? I need to constantly have it that way. I need it. Okay? Hopefully it may or may not occur. It may or may not occur. But I recorded it of the significance in trading. And hopefully, I pray to God. People who are alcoholics, they probably pray. They probably pray, like, if they're conscious, they pray. Okay, they pray. God, I want to stop being an alcoholic. That's probably how they pray. Help me. Okay, that's what they say. Help me. I don't know how relevant it is with trading and stop loss usage. I'm saying to God, okay, it's very similar to what's happening. God, okay, I know ultimately it's you who created everything. Okay, you create in me the discipline to use stop loss. Without you, nothing is possible. Nothing is possible without you, God. I know it. So I know I can say this. I want to do it. I want to use the stop loss. But I know that it is ultimately you, God, who decides. All I can ask is, God, help me. Help me perfect the usage of stop loss in my trading. I know, okay? I know that I cannot do this without you. Okay? If I don't want to do it, I know I can't do it. But even if I want to do it, I know that I cannot do this. I cannot do this without you. So I'm asking you, God, right now. I know heartedly, that using the stop loss is a requirement to being a consistent day trader. Without you, it cannot be done. So help me God. Amen.